Hello, it is of course Dr. Jimmy. I hope you've all been having a wonderful time as this year continues and we get closer and closer to the upcoming event of Halloween Horror Nights 25. And it starts, I've already seen lots of wonderful speculations on various sites. And I know that people are highly anticipating this year's event. Indeed, we know a little bit more about the event than we would have because they've been so forthcoming, those wonderful people at Art and Design, letting us know last year, before 24 even ended, that the event this year would begin on the date of September 25th, 2015. And would conclude on Halloween night. They never gave us the dates that early before. And also letting us know that Jack the Clown was expected back, perhaps as the event icon. We don't wonder, or at least we didn't know exactly what was meant by that. Oh, we were so excited last year, weren't we? Well, it's that time, yes. Those of you who might have noticed, looking at your calendars this morning, you might have seen, I look up at my calendar, yes, that it is today the first day of the month of April of 2015, which means that it's that time of year when I traditionally, as I have for the past 4 years, given you a wonderful taste of things to come in a video titled All Secrets of Halloween Horror Nights Revealed. Now, I do confess that my 4 previous April Fool's Day videos that I made about the past 4 events were indeed April Fool's pranks. Oh, I'm so naughty. Yes, I was pulling your collective legs, taking the piss, so to speak. But, as you might recall, every year prior to this, somewhere in those silly jokes and scenarios which were unbelievable and rather bizarre, there were indeed some things that were not all that silly after all. As I have said once or twice, sometimes when I'm joking I can be quite serious. If you remember back in 2010, the first time I did this, I had said there would be a house based on the work of Edgar Allan Poe. I also said there would be a scare zone in which sinners would be punished for the 7 deadly sins. And indeed there were a house and a scare zone quite similar to what had been described, although perhaps not quite as sexually explicit as I suggested in the video, but nevertheless we did see such things, didn't we? And in 2011, that was 2011, I'm sorry, oh silly of me, I said 2010, I meant 2011 of course. In 2010 I didn't do that. In 2011, yes. So in 2012, if you recall, I said quite jokingly that there would be a house created by the comedy magician troupe known as Penn and Teller, that they would create their own house, which they would actually make a personal appearance, and indeed that there would be some things built into the house to allow for guest participation. And indeed, there was a Penn and Teller house in 2012 with some guest participation of elements in the house, and they did in fact make some personal appearances that year for the house, which they had indeed designed in association with Art and Design, of course. They helped to create that house. So that was not entirely a joke, was it? And then, of course, in 2013, I jokingly said that there would be a house based on the film American Werewolf of London, And there was that year, exactly as I said, the house right there as I had said it would be. Last year, of course, I said there would be a house based on the film Dracula Untold, and sure enough we did get that house. Furthermore, I also jokingly said there would be Mexican vampires featured at the event, and indeed there were. Perhaps not exactly the way I said, of course, because some of it does have to be a joke after all, but there was enough truth to that, wasn't there? So, you know, when I give my presentation today, All Secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 25 revealed. Yeah. It's very possible that some of what I say is actually true. But if I were to be evil, and some of you are probably saying to yourself, yes, you are evil, Dr. Jimmy. We know that already. Then it's possible that I might be so devious as to actually give the entire truth about the event, and everything that I say is exactly what's happening. And you might think, oh, it's an April Fool's gag, so all of it can't be true. There might be something, but maybe you wouldn't realize that I'm really just telling you what's actually going to happen. Or I could be even more devious, and knowing that you think something might be true, I could just tell a completely false story, and the whole thing is an April Fool's gag, and nothing that I say is going to happen at all. The problem is, which is it? Is everything I say today just an elaborate April Fool's prank? Could there be a house I describe that really is happening? Could there be a scare zone I describe that really is happening? Could perhaps I be so bold as to actually give the real scenario for the entire event? And could it all be true? You don't know, do you? So whichever one you think, whatever you decide, whether you doubt what I say or believe it all, either way, you're going to get April Fooled one way or another. Enough of that. What I will say then, now, All Secrets of Halloween Horror Nights 25 revealed. This year, as most of you have already determined, the wonderful people at Art and Design indeed endeavoured to create the best Halloween Horror Nights event they've ever had here in Orlando, as it is in fact the 25th anniversary of the event. And they did intend to create Halloween Horror Nights 25 to be a retrospective and anniversary year, celebrating 25 years of Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. Yes, they had planned, indeed, to bring Jack the Clown back, as they've already said, and to make him the icon for the event yet again. And that Jack would be then the host of the event, the icon, and that he would be featured in his own signature house, involving the Clown Factory from last year in a way, as that was planned to be a trilogy of houses, and that also there would be some of the other icons brought back from the lantern as well, making cameo appearances in unexpected places. The caretaker, Dr. Albert Kane, the director, Paolo Rinsky, the storyteller, Elsa Strict, and, of course, the usher, our dear Julian Browning, oh yes, along with Jack Schmidt the clown, once again wreaking havoc and chaos at the event. Of course, there was one former icon, Fear himself. Well, I think they had no plans for Fear, actually. That seemed not to have worked out quite as well as they'd originally hoped. But, yes, they had planned one of the icons from the past, of course, our dear beloved Bloody Mary. They couldn't really bring her back. No. You see, see, unfortunately, as some of you well know, there's this lady called Bobby Wiener, and she is a wiener, yes, or is it whiner? Either way, she's a whiner and a wiener. She's apparently somehow been able to copyright an urban legend. I would think that's impossible. An urban legend is like, you know, Santa Claus, something that's pretty much in the public domain, but somehow she copyrighted it for use in such things as comic books, hot sauce, and theme park Halloween events. The precedent was sadly set back in 2008. They paid her off in order to have Bloody Mary at the event that year, and having made that precedent, unfortunately they can't use her again without again recompensing this lady for the use of the trademark, apparently, of Bloody Mary, which is bizarre to me, quite strange. And as she has already made a contract with another theme park or amusement park somewhere in the United States for a haunted attraction this year featuring Bloody Mary, it would be legally impossible for them to use her again this year, even in a cameo appearance as Bloody Mary. So they thought perhaps they might bring Mary Agana, that is Dr. Mary Agana, not in her Bloody Mary form, but in her previous Dr. Mary Agana form, and have her perhaps make some sort of reference to that or cameo, the way they did back in 2010 with Behind the Mirror in the Psychotherapy house that year. So that was part of their original plans. Yes, and they had all sorts of houses lined up, a lot of IPs. Yes, they had planned to bring back some of the classic IPs that they've used in years past. Remember, back in 2007, they had thought about reusing Freddy Krueger from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, and Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th, and Leatherface from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. More recent films, of course, were also planned. They thought about an Insidious house, and a house based on American Horror Story, which they've been trying to do for years now. They thought at last they could get those rights from Fox and do that house up correctly, finally at last. And even, amazingly enough, something I joked about last year, Ghostbusters. It's the wonderful house about Ghostbusters. That was all in their plans for this year, and they were working quite well on all of these things and a few other interesting houses, both IP and original, that they had planned for this year, and they'd started working quite nicely. Back in January, they started posting twitters about tweets about how they're getting them going, and they were having lots of fun getting the whole 25th anniversary ready to go. They would also have, of course, a sort of retrospective house, which might be the Icon House, which would feature, of course, scenes from old houses similar to the hallowed past that they had back in 2010. So there'll be a lot of familiar faces as well as some original ideas for the event this year. It was all going swimmingly, but then they were notified from somebody higher up, like the voice of God coming down. I don't know if this was some executive at Universal on the West Coast, or perhaps, more likely, some bean-counting bureaucrat from the parent company Comcast. But they did contact the arts and design team and said, "Hey guys, guess what? All those plans you have for Halloween Horror Nights this year, they're gonna have to be changed, because this is what you're actually going to do. We're going to give you this directive." Yes, the directive came down from on high, changing their event quite a bit, oh my, just like it's had all too many times in recent years. And so they had to go back to the drawing boards and start afresh and anew on some very different concepts. And it seems to me that I've hit the 15-minute mark already. Now, I know my videos can go a little bit longer than 15 minutes nowadays on YouTube, but let's not push it. Thus, this is only part 1, and we shall continue in part 2.